Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Doc Flores, and welcome to MAED 203 Human Resource Management. So for today, we will be discussing about the theories in human resource management. But before that, let me introduce to you the reporters. First, I would like to introduce myself. I am Shan C. Batitang. I am from Barangay Matabao, Buena Vista, Agusan del Norte. I was born on April 16, 1998, a provincial paid assistant teacher of Manapa 2 Central Elementary School. Second, we have Ma'am Charlotte A. Isiderio from Barangay Manapa, Buena Vista, Agusan del Norte. She was born on January 17, 1989, and a Teacher 1 of Manapa 2 Central Elementary School. And lastly, we have Ma'am Edelen C. Banawan from Barangay Tagkatong, Carmen, Agusan del Norte. She was born on December 18, 1985, and a Teacher 1 at Gusoon Elementary School. So we have here the objectives. At the end of the discussion, the MAED students are able to 1. Identify the proponents and their contributions in the field of human resource management. Second, understand every concept of the theories of human resource management. And lastly, appreciate the uniqueness of the ideas of the theories of human resource management. And now, let's start the first theory. We have the expectancy theory by Victor Vroom. Okay. First, let me introduce to you Mr. Victor Vroom. Victor Vroom, he is a workplace and behavioral psychologist. He is also a business school professor, and he holds a degree from the University of Michigan. So the expectancy theory. Victor Vroom introduced one of the most widely accepted explanation of motivation. So very simply, the expectancy theory says that an employee will be motivated to exert a high level of effort when he or she believes that, number one, effort will lead to a good performance appraisal. Second, a good appraisal will lead to organizational rewards. And lastly, the organizational rewards will satisfy their personal goals. So the idea with this theory is that people are motivated to do something because they think their actions will lead to their desired outcome. So the expectancy theory proposes that work motivation is dependent upon the perceived association between the performance and outcome. And the individuals modify their behavior based on their calculation of anticipated outcome. So, okay, so we have here the variables of the expectancy theory. We have the effort, we also have the performance and reward. So in the effort, the employee believes that effort will result in acceptable performance. Also in performance, the employee believes that acceptable performance will produce the desired reward. And lastly, in reward, the employee values the reward. Okay. So again, these are the variables of expectancy theory. We have the expectancy, the instrumentality, and the valence. So expectancy, when we say expectancy, effort to performance. Again, expectancy, effort to performance. In instrumentality, we have performance to outcome. Again, in instrumentality, performance to outcome. And lastly, we have the variance, outcome to reward. Again, variance, outcome to reward. Let's go first with the first variable, the expectancy. Okay, so the expectancy is the belief that if you work hard, you will able to hit the targets that have been set for you by your manager. Again, in expectancy, it is the belief that if you work hard, you will able to hit the targets. So you make this judgment based on a number of factors, and these are some of the factors: your past experience, your confidence in your ability, and how difficult you perceive the target is to achieve, and whether or not the target is under your control. Okay. So the example of the expectancy is, if I work hard, I can achieve the targets my boss has set for me. That is the example of expectancy. If I work hard, I can achieve the targets my boss has set for me. Next, the second variable is the instrumentality. So in this variable, you're assessing how likely you are to receive a reward if you hit the targets that have been set for you. Again, in instrumentality, you are assessing how likely you are to receive a reward if you hit the targets that have been set for you. So again, you make this judgment based on a number of factors. And these are the factors. Number one, is the relationship clear between the performance and reward? Second, how much you trust the person who decides on the reward? And lastly, how transparent is the decision-making process around who gets what reward? So in instrumentality, we are thinking that if I achieve all of the targets set for me, then I believe I will get promoted. So earlier in expectancy, the question there is, if I work hard, I can achieve the targets my boss has set for me. So you are speaking about the effort. But here in instrumentality, if I achieve all of the targets set for me, then I will get promoted. So this is about your performance. Okay? And lastly, for the valence, this is the final piece of the motivational puzzle. Okay? So in the valence, it is simply the perceived value of the reward to you. Again, it is the perceived value of the reward to you. So this could be negative if you actively want to avoid the reward. Also, 0 if you are unmotivated by the reward. But if 1 if you are motivated by the reward. Okay, so here in valence, we focus on the question, do I want to be promoted? Will the extra work result in even less time with my family? Is it really worth putting in a serious effort for a whole year to receive a promotion and a 10% pay raise. So, when it comes to valency, an employee will have to weigh up the pros and cons of the reward. Again, the valence, it is okay, the employee will have to weigh up the pros and cons of the reward. So combining the three variables above give us the following formula. We have the expectancy, which more focus on effort, times instrumentality, focus on performance, times valence, just focus on the reward, equals to motivational force. Okay, so this formula is simply stating what we've already covered. So to be motivated, you must think your targets are achievable. You must clearly understand any reward you might receive, and you must actually value the reward. Okay. So the key to the expectancy theory is an understanding of an individual's goals and the relationship between the effort and performance, between the relationship of performance and rewards, and between the rewards and the individual goal satisfaction. So when an employee has a high level of expectancy and the reward is attractive, motivation is usually high. So therefore, to motivate workers, managers must strengthen workers' perception of their effort as both possible and worthwhile. Clarify expectations of performances, tie rewards to performances, and make sure that rewards are desirable. So, in other words, expectancy theory provides the idea that individuals' motivations comes from believing they will get what they desire in the form of a reward. Okay, so that's all for the expectancy theory. Now, let us welcome Mom Charlotte Isiderio for the motivation, hygiene theory, and equity theory.
Thank you, Sir Shan. And once again, good morning, everyone. I'm Charlotte. I'm going to report about the motivation hygiene theory from Frederick Hertzberg. Let us know first, uh, before we start, let me ask you this question first. Would you like to have a job for free? The practical answer for that is no, right? And that is Mr. Hertberg's come in and let us understand what is this theory all about. Let us have a brief introduction about Frederick Urban Hertzberg. Frederick was born on April 18, 1923 and died January 19, 2000. He was an American psychologist who became one of the most influential names in the business management. He is most famous for introducing the job enrichment and the motivator hygiene theory. Um, its 1968 publication, the book entitled One More Time, How Do You Motivate Employees, had sold 1.2 million reprints by 1987 and the most requested article from the Harvard Business Review. About Frederick Herbert's motivation hygiene theory, it says that motivation on a job should lead to satisfied workers. Satisfaction and dissatisfactions were not opposite ends. Mr. Frederick Herbert's studies indicate that certain job factors are consistently related to employee job satisfaction, whereas others can create job dissatisfaction. According to Herbert's, motivating factors, also called satisfiers, um, also intrinsic job elements that the nature of work itself, responsibility, uh, the lead satisfaction such as achievement, recognition, the nature of work itself, responsibility, advancement, and growth. What hurt birds term hygiene factors called dissatisfier are extrinsic elements of work environment such as company policy, relationship with supervisors, working condition, relationship with peers and subordinates, salary and benefits of job security. These are the factors that can result in job satisfaction if not well managed. If not well managed. One of the most interesting results of Herbert's study was the implication that the opposite of satisfaction is not dissatisfaction. He believed that the proper management of hygiene factors could prevent employee dissatisfaction, but that these factors could not source of satisfaction or motivation. About factors were different from motivation and demotivation. Motivators, those are the factors that directly motivate people to work harder. Those are the responsibility at work, meaningful, fulfilling work, and achievement and recognition. For the hygiene, factors that can demotivate if not present, but do not actually motivate employees to work harder. Um, these are some um, examples for motivators and hygiene factors. For motivators, the achievement, the recognition, advancement, the work itself, responsibility, potential for promotion, potential for personal growth, and the salary. And for the hygiene factors, those are the policies, administration, micromanagement, relationship with supervisor, peers, and subordinates, job security, personal life, work conditions, and status. What is the implication of this? The motivation hygiene theory. It motivate by using motivator and ensure hygiene factors are met. These employees can be influenced work harder by interesting work, but employees can become demotivated if they work in poor working condition with low pay. And that's all for motivation hygiene theory. And let us discuss about the equity theory. Um, Equity theory from John Stacy Adam. Uh, John Stacy Adam was born on year 1925 and died at the age of 97. He developed the equity theory or the job motivation theory. He is also an American and behavioral psychologist. He is also the creator of the theory of justice. Adam's equity theory. Factors affecting employees' assessment and perception. In the equity theory states that people are motivated if they are treated equitably and receive what they consider fair for their efforts and costs. Um, this theory was suggested by Adams on 1965, and this theory is based on a social exchange theory. According to this theory, people compare their contribution to work, cost of their actions, and the benefits that will result to the contribution and benefit of the reference person. The ratio of inputs and outputs. If the people perceive that the ratio of their input outputs to the ratio of referent others' input output is inequitable, then they will motivated to reduce the inequality. The in the e- Inequity. At the workplace, the workers put inputs into the job, such as education, experience, efforts, energy, and experts to get some outcomes. The outcomes such as salary, rewards, promotion, verbal recognition, and interesting and challenging work in its equal amounts. Um, The equity theory works not just in a workplace, but also at the school as well. Example, when for same oral exam performance, there are two students get different marks, then there is an inequity exists. Um, the These are the inputs in equity theory: the efforts, loyalty, hard work, commitment, skill, ability, adaptability, flexibility, tolerance, determination, enthusiasm, trust in superiors, support of colleagues, and personal sacrifice. And for the outputs, these are the financial rewards such as the salary, benefits, and perks. Intangibles that typically includes recognition, reputation, responsibility, sense of achievement, the praise, stimulus, sense of advancement or growth, and job security. And the wait, and the key points of this is that much like that determine that the two factors of motivation classified by, as I discussed before, the Frederick Hertzberg's intrinsic and extrinsic, Adams' equity theory states that positive outcomes and high levels of motivation can be expected only when employees perceive their treatment to be fair. Their perception of fairness is based on a number of different outputs when they put into their work and outputs when they get back as a result. And Adams' equity theory is about striking a healthy balance between the two. If the balance lies too far in favor to the employer, some employees may ask for more compensation or recognition. Others will be demotivated. Some may even decide to work elsewhere. That's and that's all my report. And let us go to next topic, the reinforcement theory and the goal setting theory from Ma'am Edelin. Ma'am Ed?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, once again, good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. I will be discussing the last two human resource management theory, which are reinforcement and the goal setting theory. Reinforcement theory was formulated by Edward L. Thorndike. He was an American eugenist and psychologist. He also worked on comparative psychology. He also worked on solving industrial problems and had a powerful impact on reinforcement theory. For the reinforcement theory, this theory focuses on appropriate use of the following techniques. Number one is the positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement reward desirable behavior. Um, For positive reinforcement theory, managers who use a positive reinforcement strategy provide positive rewards to employees when they perform well. For example, an employee or a teacher who shows up early for work and the manager or our school head acknowledges the fact on the spot. So as a result, we enjoy the praise and is more likely to feel appreciated, di ba? Mas ganahan ta nga makita sa atong nga school head nga mas una ta sa ilahan ni abot. Next, avoidance. The possible consequences of improper behavior. For avoidance, as the terms implies, it is a negative reinforcement. In a organizational behavior focuses on a approach in which employers are reprimanded or otherwise punished for the poor performance. For example, when an employee or as teachers arrives late to work, diba? Kabalo na taon sa naong sa atong mga school head kung late ang moabot, maguna pa sila sa tua. A negative reinforcement theory can be also demonstrated in the form of withholding promotion. Kabalo na ta, dili ta i-promote. Di ba? Dili ta i-recommend. Merit increases, mas makadaghan atong mga trabaho. Another one, choice assignment. Diba? Ipangbutang ta sa mga place or mga assignment ka dili nato gusto. Or another one, by demoting or suspending the offender. Pwede ta i-demote or sa worker, pwede i-suspensions of work sa avoidance to theory. Another one, extinction is ignoring the behavior of a subordinate. For this strategy, it is neither praised nor reprimanded for their work. Ang advantages ani can be an employees don't feel pressure and stress associated with making a mistake or missing a deadline. Diba, na uban mga teachers, bahala na sila, bahala ng deadline diha. Dili ko magpa-pressure ana. Muna yung advantages, pero ang disadvantages, there is a little incentives to step up performance if your efforts are never recognized, diba? Kanang wala kay incentive nga madawat kung worker ka, kay poor man ang imong performance, kay ang imo lagi extension strategy nimo, ignoring man ka sa behavior sa imong ang imong behavior ba wala ka nag-focus imong trabaho, gi-ignore nimo ang mga supervisor nimo or mga school head sa mga task na gihatag sa imo. For the punishment, to decrease the likelihood of a behavior recurring. Next, sir. Okay, for the reinforcement, implication for reinforcement theory. Learning is what acceptable to the organization. Manager or school heads must tell individual what they are doing wrong. Must also not reward all individuals. It must also tell individuals what they can do. Another one must be sure to administer the reinforcement and recognize that failure to reward can be a modified behavior. There are also some outcomes of reinforcement theory in a workplace. It will measure the outcomes of positive versus negative extension reinforcement theory. Another one, it will conduct an impartial third-party group with employees to gauge reaction to different motivational techniques. Next, it will track disciplinary issue in the workplace. And the last one, it will conduct periodic employee polls and ask pointed questions about circumstances and environment that encourage them to perform at optimum level. Next, sir. For the last theory, goal-setting theory, it was formulated by Edwin Locke. For the goal-setting theory, okay, Edwin Locke is an American psychologist. He is a pioneer in goal-setting theory. He also enriched the understanding of work, motivation, and job satisfaction. And most widely respected, he was a most widely respected theory. For the goal-setting theory, goals are major source of work motivation. So goals are the major source of work motivation. Employees do better when they get feedback, especially positive feedback. So factors influence the goal performance relationship. Like the employee must be committed to the goal, must capable of performing the task. Tasks should be simple, familiar, and independent. The goal setting theory is a cultured band. According to the Lax goal setting theory, that there are five main principles of setting effective goals. We have the clarity. Number one is clarity. Goals must be clear and specific. So klaro o specific kung unsa ba gyud ang imong goals. Second, challenge. The goals should be sufficiently challenging to keep employee engaged and focused. Third, commitment. Employees need to understand and support the goal they are being assigned. So dapat ang employee or kuan kita committed ta sa goals nga atong gusto. Next, feedback. Feedback is an important component of the goal setting theory. Regular feedback should be provided throughout the goal achieving process to ensure tasks stay on the track to reach the goal. And the last one is task complexity. The goal should be broken down into smaller pieces. So, sa task complexity, dapat ang imong goals, imo na nang bahin-bahin, dili kay diretso ka sa goals na dako kaayo, nga diretso mo ma-achieve. So, for the principle, we have clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. Next, we have also this SMART model. It is an effective way to set and accomplish goals. The acronym is SMART: specific, measurable, aggressive, realistic, time bound. For specific, that the goal should be specific as possible. Dapat kabalo gyud ka unsa gyud imong goal. Next, measurable. It should be measurable. Achievable. Goals should be fairly challenging to keep employees engaged and to provide reward upon accomplishing them. Next, realistic. Set the goal that can be realistic to be met. Dapat ay mong goal ma-achieve nimo. Di kay nagkuan ka og goal di to ma-realize kalisod. Then time bound. Goals should have a clear time frame in which they need to be reached. Dapat siya nasa time frame kung kanus-an nimo dapat i-achieve na nga goal. And again, the SMART model: specific, measurable, aggressive, and realistic and time bound. And that's all for the group 2. That's all for the human resource management theory. Sir?
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Charlotte and Ma'am Edeline. And that's all for today. So if you want to learn more about the theories in human resource management, you can read or you can watch videos using these links. Okay?